Hi there, and welcome to episode 183 of the ADHD Adults Podcast. I'm James Brown, the man who almost owns more guitars than he has fingers to play them with. And I'm joined, of course, by Dr. Alex Connor, who still labours under the impression that Coldplay equates to music, and Mrs AuDHD, who likes delight. Enough said. Alex, hi.
Hello. Is it ADHD you're looking for?
I've been worried about this. Honestly, I've been worried about the hello for this episode, and it's just as bad as I expected. So,
And it's worse because you shouldn't say "is it," because ADHD scans properly without the "is it." Like, hello, ADHD you're looking for. That would have been better.
Yeah. Anyway, how are you both? Mrs ADHD first.
Exhausted. How are you?
And it's ADHD. Christ, that's an old fucking error.
I was
in
thinking
script,
that
isn't
as
it?
you said it.
I know.
I didn't even notice it. I didn't even notice it.
Fair enough. Exhausted. Okay, and Alex, I suppose.
I'm excellent, thank you. Yeah, very happy to be here. Something listeners. I mean, we've just started again, haven't we? So I don't know. It's
none.
Tomorrow is the book launch. 2 days before the book launch, talk we're giving in London together, cuddling, a lot of cuddling. One of whom has sent us a letter.
Smooth.
No.
Jesus Christ, go on.
Okay, so that was, and I think we can both agree, that was probably half a second pause.
Honestly, my brain's working so much slower than usual, but that was still an eternity.
It's always compared to a hypothetical lunatic, though, isn't it? And what I'm doing, Sam, is creating tension where I pretend to have a letter where I'm crumpling paper up before I say, and this is a fairly fixed piece of shtick. It's for Robert from Kidderminster, and it says, I didn't listen to the last episode because it was about Sam, and I can't finish this one actually because I wouldn't have been mean about Sam, so I can't do that joke.
He didn't listen because he's dead. He loved me. He would have listened if it was for me.
Well, yeah, that's the point of the letter he wrote.
Yeah.
So he goes on to say, James is the podcast Pigs and a Dracula. That's it. We've had a real letter.
He's up to date on the new names. No, you can't.
He is, yeah. He wrote it was from Brian Brains first, then crossed it out, put Robert from Kidderminster. This is from Anna V. It says, hey guys, firstly, I'm shite at writing. So Alex, go easy on me. Ding! Put a question mark and an exclamation mark, which has a name, doesn't it?
Oh, I always do that. I always do question mark and exclamation mark. I can't do a question mark without an exclamation mark.
There's a question mark with an exclamation mark through it, I believe is called an interrobang, and they call it the ADHD grammar because it's a thing we do. I know. That isn't what Anna wrote. I've got distracted. Secondly, I wanted to send you my heartfelt thanks. I discovered your podcast a couple of months ago, and at first I thought, what the fuck is this? Well, I've come to love the chaos. Do you know what? That might be the best review we've ever had. I started listening to the podcast. I know. And they're right. Because I suspect my son has ADHD and wanted to learn more about it. But the more I listened, I realized you could be describing me. Anywho, which is a good reference. I just had to know either way. So I paid for a private diagnosis, which I came out of about an hour ago. I had such bad imposter syndrome and was convinced the psychologist would think I was wasting her time. But fuck me, ding. She agreed, and it says ding. I'm not adding that. She agreed. I'm adding this bit. I've got confused. She agreed, and I do meet the diagnostic criteria, although I do feel like I've somehow conned her. Laughy emoticon. I'm going to have a long, hard ding think about how I proceed now, but just wanted to thank you all so much for your informative, funny, and crazy podcast. Please take care of yourselves. And I know you won't believe it, but you are changing and saving people's lives. I don't believe it. Thank you for helping me to find my tribe. Much love, Anna XX.
Oh, I love that, Anna. And we hear that so much that people listen to try and help somebody else and then think, oh shit.
Yeah, especially genetically. We also
And
hear that we're helping, and I disbelieve every single one, disrespectfully, do you?
disrespectfully.
Yeah.
And also, the imposter syndrome is strong with all of us. Even after we're diagnosed, we still believe that we've somehow tricked a
Mm,
fully trained psychiatrist into giving us a diagnosis.
yep.
Welcome to our tribe, Anna.
Yeah. Yeah, we probably spent more time discussing that letter, which thanks, Anna.
Worth it, though.
And apologies for being the podcast pigs again, but we spent
You're
more
really are.
time just back and forthing, if that's a thing, on that letter.
Ding!
We're already behind time for the rest of the podcast, so I'm
Sorry.
going to
Oh,
move us on
the fuzz are
as
here
the
again.
fun,
Oh.
yeah, the fun police are here. So as usual, this digital rectal exam performed by a doctor who apparently has the hands of Andre the Giant of a podcast is a tragedy in 3 parts. We choose a theme. Last time around, we lazily just talked about Mrs AuDHD and how's she been. And today we're going to focus on ADHD and music. The 3 parts include the Arthur Nudge of evidence, Alex the Psycho Education Monkey,
Hello.
delivering the science behind
I
the
don't
topic.
know who that is. Who's, okay. You
Nudge, 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 wink, wink. Monty Python character.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Arthur. You know his name, do you?
Yes, I do. Yes.
So
Yeah.
weird.
And then we'll clumsily answer questions that you've sent in, not us, you. Not all of you, obviously, but for Sam's purposes, they're not our questions, just to be clear, Sam.
Thank
So,
you.
Alex, drop some knowledge like a sick bass line, deep, rhythmic, and impossible to ignore.
I will.
like
Thank you. I will then. I will talk about music like was it sick bass line?
Yes.
Okay. As Friedrich Nietzsche once said, without music, life would be a mistake. Ohne Musik, Leben würde eine Fehler sein. Although his moustache apparently frightened women, so he probably needed something else to do. Let's start with the big picture. Why do humans listen to music at all? Well, I don't know. There are studies suggesting 90% of people listen to music daily. Huge part of human behavior. Music's powerful for mood management, enhancing life experiences, apart from Suede, when it's just for making you sadder.
Objection.
No, I've checked that. It's fine. James likes it when I go off script.
Bastard.
Overall, this connection with music is not new. Obviously, probably as long as humans have been around, 40,000 years at least, maybe 150. When we talk about history, we're not just talking about classic rock versus classical music. We're talking about actual rocks because of the Stone Age, James. That's the joke there. Music has been part of ancient rituals, war cries, early medicine. Fast forward to now, and people listen to music emotionally, expressing ourselves, moods, obviously, relaxing, loads of reasons. If you've ever put on a playlist or the radio to get through a boring task, music's doing something. Listen to an album because it reminds you of a happier or James sadder, or at least differently sad time. Music. Ever listen to Coldplay just to annoy James? Music. Not me. I listen because it's good. Alongside the listening bit comes the playing of music bit. Not obviously not for James. James likes the owning of musical instruments, not the playing of them. It's the anticipated reward of buying them.
Is there any science to this part? I know you're going to be dropping evidence, apparently, like a sick baseline, but it's just waffle so far.
Of course there is evidence. We've got a middle ear. Our middle ear evolved from reptilian jawbones, or reptile precursor jawbones, and it's specifically attuned to the frequencies of human speech. That's where we're most sensitive in the old ear boxes, and that includes the patterns, musical rhythmic patterns found in the human voice as we're speaking. We've evolved to have this unique capacity for appreciating rhythm and the aesthetics of sound, and voice emerged probably as the first musical instrument. I'm saying probably in case people bang rocks together before this spoke. Which very similar to most Derek Bowie, don't know, songs. That it might be that spoken language and music originated from a primal form of communication, musy language used by early human ancestors. music, there aren't many things that can activate loads of areas of the brain all at the same time. Music is one of them. The auditory cortex, listening, motor regions, moving, even the prefrontal cortex, which, as we know, heavily involved in executive function or dysfunctioning in the case of most people with ADHD. James.
Brings us to, we've done that early. We've hit this early, haven't we? ADHD. Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyway, so that brings us to ADHD, Alex. Something.
Said it, James. Ancient bone flutes, ding, to Beethoven, Derek Bowie, and breakbeats, James, which I dance to. Music shapes emotions, cultures, and how we focus and function. About 90% of people listening and to music like every day, and about 10% of dopaminergic activity is about music can increase dopaminergic activity by about 10%. And that's really relevant if you think about it for people who are always looking for things that can hit a higher threshold of dopamine, because we need to, given the activity of dopamine in our brain appears to be less functional. There was a study that suggested background music reduced anxiety and improved attention span and task performance in individuals with ADHD, particularly when the music had a steady rhythm. I know we're not doing personal things, but the stigma I get from people telling me I can't concentrate while music's on, or I shouldn't be able to, and I always have been able to, because of the noise that's already made. This isn't what this is, but it really pisses me off. Possibly, most interesting piece of research came out this year in the Journal of Behavioral Sciences that James found. 20 eligible studies between 1981, when James that was your 100th, wasn't it? And 2023, you're Dracula, involved 1,170 participants, 830 of whom had ADHD. The focus of the study was threefold. So a boring list of three clacks on. 1, looking at musical performance and processing in ADHD people. 2, the use of music listening as a source of stimulation for people with ADHD.
Can I just clarify? Did you just say the music of music?
Yeah, I like that. That works.
I like it too.
I'm very much here for the music of music. Can I carry on with my boring list?
Please.
C, music-based interventions aimed at helping to manage ADHD symptoms, presumably by the Musics.
And what did they find, Alex?
Well, good question, James. Nothing.
Oh,
imagine.
Brilliant.
No, not true. That's a lie. People with ADHD have unique challenges when they're doing musical tasks. Kind of, if you think about it, fairly obvious. Those related to timing, to rhythm, complex auditory stimulus perception. This did not extend to improvisation of rhythm and expressing yourself musically. It's the formal rhythm and timing, kind of exactly what if you'd have told me 2 years ago, I would have said this is what I struggle with. Fascinating. Right, anyway, there is evidence from different studies from association between timing deficits and the very core symptoms we have, impulsivity and inattention. So timing problems might be key to the clinical behavioral profile of ADHD. Add to that time blindness, time reproduction, in this case, keeping a steady rhythm while you're trying to play an instrument, not being distracted at the same time. Probably a key issue. Yeah. I mean, that's also a thing. Thinking about crisps, James.
Are you saying that we find it difficult to keep a beat, the timing of a beat? Right,
exactly.
Sorry, I was trying to work out what you were saying then. Okay.
And not just because of time blindness, but because you get distracted. I know so when I'm dancing, I have to really focus on the rhythm, the idea of counting and not looking for the beats. And the other people are just counting. Like, it's weird. I don't know how, it's like magic, the way they can do it.
I love magic.
Fuck me.
No.
He's lost.
For the second part. So listening to music. The report said that listening to music positively affects a lot of the domains of our brain that individuals with ADHD struggle with. The ones for enhancing our focus, self-regulation. Why? Because music provides a source of external stimulation, possibly regulating arousal, ding, not that kind of arousal, and cognitive performance, probably by modulating dopamine levels or activity in the brain, as we just said. Finally, music therapy. This is where a qualified music therapist designs and structures and facilitates a musical experience that can address individual therapeutic goals. There are a few, James, or many, what do you reckon, caveats about the quality of the research of this? But, and it's a big but, James, at the moment, the early week studies suggest that musical therapy does show some promise in reducing ADHD symptoms and improving overall well-being. So integrating music into daily routines or therapeutic practice may, we think, have significant benefits for some people with ADHD, and it's free. That's what I like about it.
Well, I'm grateful that that sick baseline is over, and we'll take a quick break. And apparently, I think we'll have more to discuss in part 2 because Alex has realised this is an issue, and Sam will actually look at the script and start thinking about it. So we will see you in a bit.
Bye.
Sick's good, is it? Feels like it should be bad.
Alex, hi.
Aight. What's up? Hello, Governor.
Welcome back to episode 183 of the ADHD Adults Podcast, where we're talking about ADHD and music. And in this part, we'll talk about our personal reflections on ADHD and music. James, go.
That was lovely, Sam. Well done.
It was.
I have to positively reinforce stuff that she does at the minute, obviously, because she's not doing well.
But
Yes,
it was good.
It was very
like about it.
very professional. Well done, Sam. Music, fucking hell, I love it. So listening to it is kind of everything to me. And everyone knows I'm not a happy person. You know, when I was hypomanic last week, it was pointed out by Sam first when she said, "Are you hypomanic?" And I said, "I don't know." She said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, you're in a good mood." So not being the happiest of people, when I am happy, whatever that is, it's often listening to music. And when I was really young, oh my God, my music taste was terrible. I'm really going to out myself now as having the worst music taste pre the age of about 13 when I was into
you're not, mate.
The Fat Boys, the rap band who were all morbidly obese, loved them. Yeah, really.
My first album, James, was Michael Bolton.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's worse. And mine was Adamant, and that was for that. That's
really
more like
good.
I mean, it is. Come on. Anyway, when I discovered Derek Bowie at about the age of 14, music really started to make sense to me, and it became a huge part of my life. And it's kind of the soundtrack to what I do every day. It genuinely helps me focus. It helps me get motivation. First thing in the morning, I have to stick the headphones on, have loud music, which I have an emotional connection to, and it does help kind of pump me up, and give me and give me the energy and motivation to do stuff and to and to feel something as well, which is obviously rare with me. So it's a big part of my life. The playing side of it, I think, is interesting, because when you look at the study you talked about at the end of part 1, I think it's probably, first of all, it's important to say, obviously, it's not all of us. There are loads of musicians and DJs who are absolutely at the top of their game, world famous, who have ADHD, that clearly don't have the timing issues that on average we might have, because we're all different. So if anyone's listening to this and they're a musician and thinking, well, that's not me, yeah, of course, that's fine, because we're not all the same. But for me, playing music, I started off wanting to be a drummer, really wanting to be a drummer, and then tried it once, and my kind of dyspraxia / poor coordination / poor timing meant it was an absolute fucking non-starter. I cannot do something with my hands and try and do something with my feet at the same time. Yep, where there's a different rhythm. I couldn't do it. Absolutely couldn't do it. And then switched to guitar. And I think I would have been about 18 when I started self-learning the guitar, because I was too scared to have lessons because I knew I'd be shit. And I just thought, oh, just learn yourself, which is why I'm not very good. But to me, now I can engage with it. After buying all the guitars in lockdown and then not playing, and we talked recently about learning to do it first thing in the morning, it's massive to me. Now I can engage. I have all of those issues with timing. I can remember recording the jingle, it's not a jingle, with Pat, and the amount of editing when he had to go into the software and moving a note or a chord forward or back by an eighth of a second, because every single beat was slightly earlier or later than the previous one. Like I could not hold even 2 beats or 2 chords played on a beat in succession at the right time. Everything had to be just slightly adjusted because I can't do it. And that's with a click track, which is the loudest drum on the software going boom, 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 playing in my ear as I play. Still can't do it. Absolutely can't do it at all. But I love it and it makes me happier. So now I can get up early in the morning and play guitar for an hour. It sets me up alongside the listening to music. I feel more regulated. I feel happier. I don't know what that is, but it sets me off in a really good way for the day. So music is massive to me. I wish I didn't have the timing issues and could be better, but it does. Listening to it helps me regulate. It helps me with motivation. I think it probably helps me focus because I often listen to it while I'm working. The playing side of it, yeah, I have all those issues. And a tip, Alex and Sam, a tip is playlists. If listening to music is something that you can engage with, it doesn't have to be when you're working. You can have different playlists, a motivation playlist, you can have a relaxation playlist, and that can help you for whatever you might want to use music for. If you're feeling anxious and there's music that soothes you, then stick that playlist on. If you're feeling like you need a bit of motivation, there's something that gets you up and moving, stick that playlist on and see if it helps. We still have a playlist somewhere, don't we, on Spotify, the ADHD Adults Podcast playlist, which anyone can find by searching to it and add songs to if they want. And on that note, I'm done. So unless anyone's got any questions, Sam?
Hello. I love that you tried the drums once and then immediately gave up. That is so ADHD, isn't it? I do that all the time. I sometimes give up before I've even tried the thing. I'm glad you said the thing about we're all different, because when I was listening to the psychoeducation, I was thinking, maybe I don't have ADHD then, because I can't listen to music while I'm doing things. I have to have complete silence because everything distracts me.
My brother does.
So yeah, I was glad that you said that. So I've never been able to listen to music while I'm doing something else, but now I never listen to music. And I used to really enjoy listening to music, but when I was thinking, and I think it was perimenopause, that everything changed, and all of a sudden I just couldn't cope with the things that I used to even enjoy. I used to love listening to music, especially if I was driving, and now I just drive in silence, or sometimes I might listen to an audio book, but I can't cope with music, which I think is such a shame, because I actually really do love music and I love dancing, but I don't do it enough. But when you were saying about music therapy, I remembered that one thing I loved once that I did at a conference, I think, was they had this group in and we all were playing the drums at the same time. And I find something so wonderful about doing things at the same time as other people, whether it's moving. Yeah, I guess whether it's moving in time. So if you're all dancing together, or playing instruments together, or singing together, there's something that really, it's nearly making me cry, that really makes me feel connected to people in a way that I don't do normally, and it's so wonderful, and I really loved that. But also something I wanted to say was all that kind of, I don't know what it's called, but there's all this kind of layered music that they say is really good for people with ADHD. It kind of
binaural beats and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's other ones as well, and it's all kind of layered and surrounds you, and it's wonderful, but it is very overwhelming for me. I can't cope with it. And I wish I could, because I know a lot of people, it really helps them, improves their mood and their focus and stuff, but I just can't cope with it. And yeah, I wish I could, because I love it.
There's a couple of things that I would like to add just so I can speak, really. First is that we've got a playlist called Sam's Happy Playlist. And when Sam used to, this is ages ago, when she used to listen to music, but maybe wasn't feeling that happy, I'd put it on because Sam had happy songs. Like, is it Do Your Thing by Basement Jaxx? Is that one?
Yeah, that was one for ages.
Yeah, and even recently when we've been driving and Sam, because she's tired, I'll put the happy playlist on, and it does perk you up a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Is this like
But
when
the
I
other,
call your migraines little headaches? When you
yeah,
say she's
it is.
tired.
Yeah, she's
That's
she's just
amazing.
yeah. But also, and I think this is relevant to the the ADHD is out there. The whole reason that I couldn't use all those Sonos speakers that I kept banging on about buying during lockdown was the quality was so good that just little sounds which you might not hear on cheap speakers would aggravate Sam's misophonia, and therefore she couldn't listen. Or I couldn't listen to music on there because the sound of a cymbal or just one little part of that kind of soundscape would just really get at you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and actually, I'd forgotten about my happy songs that you used to use to kind of pull me. And there's been times that you've tried that reset because I love Missy Elliott, and anything by Missy Elliott will normally really lift me up. But there's been times in the mornings when I've been feeling so bad and can't get out of bed, and James has thought, I know what I'll do. I'll put on a song, and I'm like completely overwhelmed.
Have we done the MC Hammer thing? I don't know if we talked
I
about that.
don't. We might have. I don't know.
Yeah, when I
week.
put on MC Hammer as a surprise and did the dance for you, and you just started crying and ran down the stairs, didn't you?
I was
You
overwhelmed.
should have put the trousers on.
I used to have some of
I
the
wish I
trousers. In
owned
fact,
them.
I've still got many of those types of trousers now. I love them.
Wow.
Anyway,
What
sorry.
about playing? What about playing? Because you did play a musical instrument, not the bone flute. Well, you probably did when you were younger. You played musical
I
instrument,
played
didn't
the
you?
violin.
And
I've played the bone flute.
yes.
You're saying "and" as if there's something else I've
Well,
forgotten.
did you enjoy it? Did you do it well? Did you
I
struggle with playing it?
I can't remember any of it.
I thought he meant
Okay.
and another instrument then as well.
Yeah, I thought,
Sorry,
God,
I
is
have
there
to.
an instrument I've completely
I
forgotten
have to
about
remember
that
to
I
be
took up
very
for a while?
literal with
Oh, I
both
used to
of you
play
two.
actually, my auntie had like an electronic organ, and I used to enjoy playing that. But I can't remember anything about
It was
it.
embarrassing
Sorry.
when she went through custom.
I'm useless. Anyway,
Can I ask you a
Alex.
question?
Oh, go on.
So
I mean,
we've
you
talked
just
about
did.
the neuroscience for ADHD, but we haven't talked about ADHD. And there's autistic musicians, Courtney Cox, all the way up to some of the real auteurs, the real prodigious talents like Lee Ryan from Blue are autistic. However, the social connection between the prefrontal cortex and the social connection issues that a lot of autistic people struggle with are also the links with music. So musical anhedonia, really common in the autistic community. And if you're like really common and people just don't get anything out of it.
What do you mean by musical? Oh, you don't get anything from music.
You don't listen. Yeah, musical anhedonia. You don't listen to music, don't like it. It doesn't do anything to you, and you can feel really shameful for that. You're talking 10% of ADHD people are going to feel like that because that's about how many are also autistic.
Yeah.
And so, not all of them. There's loads of autistic musicians. Is the point I always have to make. I just wondered whether, because you've talked a few times about post-COVID, post-perimenopause, and with the meds that autistic traits come out. Could that be where this is coming from? Could it be also, that your autistic symptoms have increased or are more prevalent now?
Possibly. I mean, I still get a lot from music if I can listen to it. I really, really love it. It's just that I get so easily overwhelmed. And yes, I think that is due to the changes in hormones and maybe meds and everything else. I get so easily, like now I'm wearing sunglasses because the light, I'm really, really light sensitive and noise sensitive and everything sensitive at the minute. I just can't cope with a lot.
Right.
I'm like a newborn baby.
Well.
Yes.
But you do like it, you just can't access
I love
it because
it.
of the gotcha.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And it can really make me happy and really make me excited. I can feel all the things from it. And but I just can't
That's
cope.
really helpful. So people definitely, whoever, if you're ADHD or autistic and you're listening and we say, well, we do this and you don't, it can make you feel isolated, can't it?
Yeah.
So if you're autistic and you love music or hate music, that's just a fact. It's no value judgment. I love it.
We're all different. Anyway, how about you, Alex?
Yeah, I'm funny. Since COVID, I stopped listening. All my playlists, and I was obsessed, right? We joke about me liking Coldplay all the time, which I do, and you too, even though he's a knob. But I also like everything. I like everything, and my
Yeah.
playlists are crazy eclectic. I'm
Yeah,
very,
mine
very happy listening to post punk, to Lizzo, Taylor Swift, and Rammstein. I like it all. And I don't listen to music anymore since COVID, and more importantly, since sobriety. And I'm not sure why. And I do get feelings out of it when it's pretty similar to what you were saying, Sam. I almost think I might be peaceful enough to not have to listen to it anymore. I think I might
That's
have
interesting.
accidentally become happier, and I don't need that boost that I was getting. I don't know
Wow.
what it is, but it's weird. I really need some kind of stimulation. I worked all day. My wife had an operation on Wednesday. I spent the entire day in a cafe. It's loud and noisy. I did more work than I've done in weeks. And I realized I'm going to have to go to a cafe once a week.
Was it 15 minutes work then?
It was about 15 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was mostly working that time, half of it. No, I worked about 6 hours and got all the corpses out of the basement, the Germans say. And I realized that I don't like silence to work. I find it really difficult.
Ah.
And again, my brother, he couldn't have when we worked together, he couldn't have the radio on. It's too distracting, like you said, Sam. But with me, the noise is so loud inside that it competes for it. I think it's like one of those reverse things. And I don't actually hear, I'm not distracted by it. I don't hear it. That's quite important to know. And I got told off at school everywhere. I've always been told off for this. You can't possibly focus with that. And it's not, it's because people are so stuck on neurotypical laws. I'm going to big up Sutton Coldfield's school, boys' school, because they allowed my son to listen to music while he was working with headphones, because it did the same. They didn't get it, but they allowed it. And that's all we fucking need. It doesn't require, it doesn't cost them. But I still think that they went above and beyond there. And I love that. Yeah, that's it really. I stopped, and I don't know why. I play music. I really like it. I dance. I'm pretty good at that, relative, for a fat old amateur man. But relatively, but I've never felt like I was good or could be good. And until James introduced me to this idea of the rhythmic timing elements of music and ADHD, I felt like a failure until now. And it's really cool to know that I'm quite good at it within ADHD confines.
Have I made you feel better about yourself?
Yeah. Like, thanks yet again. It's a consistent pattern.
It's completely unintentional. It's just a byproduct. Yeah, it is. Before we do the game, we are going to do the game.
What?
Yes. The one thing that's different, but one of the many things that's different between you two and me, one is that I stay quiet during parts of the podcast, and the other thing is that I'm a fucking musical snob. There is this tiny little group of bands or artists that to me are, if you like, good enough to listen to. And I'm very closed off to new music, very closed off. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's cognitive inflexibility that, no, this is what I like. And I don't want, or I can't kind of even approach listening to new artists, which I think is a shame. And I wish I was different, but that's my kind of relationship with musical artists.
Are we allowed to guess at what we think it might be? Is it offensive? I've often thought that your external validation, your people pleasing, also is people pleasing by being cool, and it's.
Molly's failing miserably at that.
Well, Sam and I've talked about this in the past when we used to talk. About how we would when we were younger, we wanted something that was just ours musically. We didn't want to like the same things that other people liked. So there was nobody in my year at school listening to David Bowie. There was nobody listening to Suede. Everyone was listening to Oasis and Blur and stuff like that. And that just wasn't me. The kind of the laddish approach. This was something that very much resonated with, and it was just mine, which was a bonus.
Yeah, I was the same, but mine was Delight. I fucking loved Delight. And actually, what you were saying about music there, if I was out somewhere where I was dancing or something, I don't like it if I don't recognize the songs. I can't connect with them. And
not at all.
Yeah, and sometimes if we'd go round to friends' houses and they were playing their music and I didn't know any of it, I just couldn't. And I'd get really quite grumpy because I wanted my music on. I wanted to dance to my music, the songs that I know. And
Yeah.
I really don't like it if I don't like. And then my friend would, if there was one song that I liked, I would be like, you could play that one again, and would gradually introduce me to new music because I'm very much the same. I'm very resistant to new things.
This is
But
why
yeah,
Mr. Brightside's popular despite its musical composition, because everybody knows it.
yeah.
Yeah, it is shit. Anyway, got time for a game, Alex? We
Yes.
haven't,
we haven't.
but we'll do it anyway quickly. So, I had a hospital appointment this week, and I went to the wrong building because I forgot to do something. So, option one: did I forget to print the letter off?
Out.
One: did I forget to print the letter out? Oh my
Off.
God. Option B: I
Mhm.
did print the letter out oblique off. Did you enjoy that, Alex?
You can just say print it. You don't need a preposition.
Fuck off. I read it, but still went to the wrong place. Or did I print the letter off and just didn't read it?
So you read it but didn't process it, or you didn't read it at all. That's 2 and bit C, isn't it?
Two is I read it and was aware that I had to go to a different building than last time, but then
just
forgot
didn't.
and went to the same building. And the third was I printed off and didn't even check where I was
These
going
are
to. And
really
the first was
good.
I didn't print it off. Well, I'm trying to win on. It's a game.
And it's neuroscience as well, isn't it? Because just not reading it is a lack of planning. It was an executive function. But reading it and not processing it is a different executive function. Printing the letter off, and what was the first one?
So didn't print it off, printed it off,
Just didn't
and
print it at all.
yeah, printed it off and read it, or printed it off and didn't read it.
Right. And just this isn't a common thing, isn't it? That James really requires things to be on paper, and people rail against that. I mean, partly for environmental reasons, which we support, but at the same time, insisting on paperless for everyone who's neurodivergent is a bit harsh because some of us can't. I hate paper stuff, but some people absolutely need it. So I don't think you didn't print it off because you were already printing loads of flyers of you superimposed as Derek Bowie for fashing. That's Mardi Gras here. I don't think you would print it off and not read it because you like making paper airplanes afterwards. I've seen you do it, so you would have read it and then done that. So I think you auditory processing, visual processing. You didn't look at your smug little face. I've got it wrong.
Yeah, I was trying to fake it. Oh, he's got it face. But you have got it wrong.
Micro expressions, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I printed it off and didn't read it, and then got there and went to the place that I'd gone to last time. And went, hang on, this says Ward D7 something building, which was like a 10-minute walk. It's a massive hospital campus, a 10-minute walk the other side of the campus with no signs and no pathways. So I had to go through a car park, jump over a fence. I mean, there probably are signs and pathways.
Really clear signs.
Yeah, really clear ones. Yeah, went through a car park, jumped over a fence, walked down some bank and found it and was just about on time.
With so poor attention, I put a picture on Instagram moaning about my Samsung, saying, why doesn't it just say move picture to album? And somebody pointed out it says it in the picture I posted. Big letters.
I was just because I'm kind of a bit the opposite in that I have to prepare myself if ever I go anywhere. And I really love, because I've had lots of hospital appointments recently, that I think it's called Accessible, is it? Where it shows you pictures of the outside of the building and you can watch the whole route, like down the corridors, and it tells you about where the reception desk is. So I can really, really plan
everything. They give you a video in advance.
Know where I am. It's pictures and written information.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And is that something that the NHS sends you, or is it a website or an app you look at?
It's a website, I think, called Accessible. I think it's called Accessible.
I make my own with Street View when I go anywhere. So the hotel I'm staying in, I get Street View and I take a photo of it and I put it on my phone. I go, this is where you're going. Because
Yeah,
otherwise I just walk
I
up and
love
down.
Street View. Yes, it's called Accessible, your accessibility guide. And you can look at all the different hospitals and put in the department, and it will show you like photos of like the outside of the door where you go, and it'll say you go up to, there's a bus stop within so many yards. And you can look at parking, outside access, the level change, entrance, inside access, what the waiting room looks like, because I really like to know what everything looks like to make myself familiar before I go. So
We
yeah,
need to point out that is the app free, by the way?
yeah,
Okay, so just because I wasn't going to promote it if it wasn't, but it's
yeah, it's free.
accessible, not
Yes,
accessible with an I, because you
yes.
can't copyright a word that is spelled correctly. So
Right.
accessible, one word.
Yes,
Can I quickly just say something?
yes.
Yeah, we're going to go for a break and we'll be back in part 3 in just a minute.
Thank you.
No. Welcome back to episode 183 of the ADHD Adults Podcast. We're talking about ADHD and music, and as always, relatively recently, not always, in part 3, we're taking questions. And Sam, I don't know, can I just to be clear, if I ask you if you've got a question, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, has someone sent you one?
Yes, I've got a question from Laura, who says,
not from you.
Not from me. I've finally been diagnosed at 45 and had a moment of relative in bunny ears peace before being diagnosed with breast cancer 2 days later. Oh, wow.
Shite.
Turns out my life is actually a joke. It's not a very funny one. I know they didn't say that, I did.
No.
I know cancer is a scary thing for people to talk about, but I was wondering, is there higher risk of cancer in people with ADHD? I think maybe I brought it on myself by self. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right. That's good.
I'm sorry. I think maybe I brought it on myself by self-medicating with alcohol since I was 14. Having a terrible diet and having an air freshener in my car that reads, "My other car is a hearse," and then they put laughing, crying.
Yeah.
Would like to know your thoughts. Love you. This is making me so emotional. Sorry. Love you all. The podcast and ADHD Towers are my comfort blanket. Thank you all so much. Any grammatical / punctuation mistakes are
Oblique.
just for you, Alex, and I don't mind you pointing them out. Sorry,
Thanks,
that
Laura.
really got me. The I think I've caused this myself. Really got me
Yeah.
because I would be thinking the same, and I know a lot of us would, because we always blame ourselves for everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant we'd all be blaming Laura.
No. Oh dear me. Anyway, I won't be able to answer the actual question, but you definitely haven't caused it yourself. But James, you could probably answer the one because you did stuff with cancer and that.
Yeah, I used to be a pretend cancer researcher. People may have seen that a lot of press about a study that came out recently about our shortened lifespan on average, not all of us. And one of the main reasons for that is the behaviors and lifestyle factors that come with ADHD, not necessarily that having a different brain means you live less longer, but we are more likely to smoke, we are more likely to use substances, we are more likely to engage in risky behavior. And if you look at cancer specifically, there are some studies which have shown, again, an association. And this is part of the problem with these studies is you don't follow a group for 30 years because it's too expensive, but you'll compare two groups, for example, either people that got cancer and didn't, and see whether ADHD was different in both, or compare people that have ADHD and don't and see if they've had cancer in the past, etc. So there is an association between ADHD and an increased risk of developing some types of cancer, including colorectal cancer, where we're 3.5 times more likely to get it, glioma, which is an aggressive brain cancer, and lung cancer. It's really important, though, Laura, to say that none of this is your fault. None of this is any of our faults. The fact that we engage in lifestyles that would be considered unhealthy and activities that can have an impact on our risk of cancer and other disorders, it's not our fault. If your brain is directing you to do stuff, if your impulsivity and people pleasing means you engage in lifestyle factors earlier in life, it's not, you didn't choose it. It wasn't I'm going to I'm going to smoke for the next 20 years, or I'm going to drink alcohol every night. It's what some of us do to get by. So whilst there are some studies showing a link with cancer, there's also some that suggest there isn't. It's not your fault. It's none of our faults. And if you can learn to drop some of that shame and accept that there's a reason for this, then hopefully that can help. And I think we all genuinely just want to say we hope you're well. We hope this all turns out well for you, and we're sending our love.
Yeah. I want to add that we're also less likely to access the treatment that would be preventative because we are stigmatized against, we are socioeconomically oppressed, we are less likely to understand what we should be doing from a medical perspective, and that needs changing. There was a cool paper from Korea about cancer survivors were more likely to have ADHD. Did you read that? I haven't checked how good it was, but it was a really interesting one. I don't know what it means. It might just be a statistical anomaly.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I thought so. I'll look into it some more. Thanks, all. I've got a question. Can I ask it?
Yes.
Please do.
It's not from me. It's from Skydive Wanker. Jeff, does that feel like I've called him that? I haven't. That's his handle.
No, I didn't think you had.
It says, I've only just found your podcast. I'm binge watching them on YouTube. Massive thanks. I have 2 questions. Writing your book is awesome, but how many of your listeners do you expect to have the attention span to read it? We do not care at all. No, that's not true. I forget what I just read as I turned the page because my mind left me. I'm currently on the waiting list for diagnosis at 52. Second question, do any of you base jump or even skydive? Thank you. James.
I definitely don't base jump or skydive. But we talked about it. No, fuck off. In the episode with where we talked about me, for an hour, I talked about doing something outside my comfort zone, and Sam and I going to Lanzarote for my 50th, and Sam was trying to find some activities, and one of them was what is it?
Well, it said it was paragliding, but it was from an aeroplane where you're strapped to somebody. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm terrified of heights and I've never wanted to skydive. But there's part of me that would like to, because it must be amazing.
Yeah, but for me,
carry on.
What's amazing about it? I've never understood this.
Because when you watch the videos on YouTube and you can see them in the air flying like birds, it must feel absolutely amazing.
But they're not flying like birds; they're falling like falling people.
I know, but it looks incredible, and I wish I could do it, but I'm so very frightened I can't. Anyway, James, I'm sorry I interrupted you. Carry on.
No. I think that's pretty much the over now for this podcast, that you two just have a conversation and I sit in the background looking angry and frustrated, and then occasionally try and drag us back to a semblance of structure, which means it will be finished in less than an hour because we've all got things to do. When it comes to expecting readers to pay attention to it, I mean, when I got diagnosed, I bought a book on ADHD. Can't remember what it's called because I didn't read any of it. It sat in the bathroom for about 6 months, and then it's probably on the bookcase somewhere. Luckily, we've also done an audio book recording, which I think people might be able to engage with more. But yeah, I can't read books at all.
We wrote it with that in mind as well. Remember, we are ADHD, and we wrote it with each chapter you can read separately, and we have self-referential points in it. So if you want to know more about that, you have a look at chapter 3 now. That kind of thought, because otherwise you wouldn't know to. Somebody gave us a review that wasn't 5-star, was 4-star, but we thought it was fair, didn't we? Because it says it's very written for people who are ADHD, and I don't have it, so some of it was felt difficult to read in that sense. But they were very positive. But and I thought that was a fair summary.
I used to love reading, and I can't do it anymore, and I hate that I can't.
Could be those glasses.
Alex, would you base jump or skydive?
No, not in a million years. I can't measure risk, so everything just feels ridiculous.
Oh yeah, you're the opposite, aren't you?
Yeah, just wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't even go to a KFC if I didn't know it. No, it's different. Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm not going there. Other shite restaurants are available. James, got a question for us?
Yes, I have. To round things off, this is from Sarah. Hi, Sarah. I have at least one song playing on repeat in my head all the damn time, in caps. Literally, as soon as I wake up to the moment I eventually fall asleep, a single line or phrase of a song will be on repeat for days, often weeks. Sometimes it's multiple songs, but always the same artist. At the moment, it's songs from the new Linkin Park album. It sounds funny, but it causes me a lot of distress. I love music, but it gets to the point that I can't listen to music out of fear of getting new songs stuck in my head for days. Anywho, that's for you, Alex. That's what Sarah has said. Is there any correlation of earworms like this in ADHD? I'm diagnosed, but currently unmedicated on the waiting list and wondering, hoping medication will help with this. And other distressing, intrusive thoughts. Also, same question for echolalia. Love you guys so much. You bring so much joy. I mean, I don't. And laughter when I listen to the podcast, walking my dog. Can't wait for the book. Alex?
Yeah, I mean, we know about this, James, don't we? Yes, it's connected to ADHD. Yes, there is some evidence that the meds might help for it. But what I found, because I read about it online, is the thing that helps me with it, because it is horrible sometimes, is get on the internet, get the lyrics, and go through the whole song in your head. It doesn't work for everyone, but it can reduce the earworm frequency. It doesn't completely get rid of it.
Yeah, no, I tried
Have
that
you tried
and it made
that?
it far worse. Yeah, it made it.
What do you
I
mean?
couldn't
So it
sleep, and
made...
I couldn't because I've always got at least one song going through my head all of the time, and it's obviously worse at night when it's really insistent. And I thought, oh, Alex gave me a tip about this.
Yeah.
I will get the lyrics up and I'll listen to the song. It made it far worse. It was
No,
just
not listen to it. Do it in your head. Like
what?
carry because the earworm's a chunk usually of a song, isn't it? That cycles. So what you have to do is you break the end of the chunk. So instead of cycling back to the first, you sing the whole song in your head, not listening to it, really.
Oh, right.
If you listen to it, just exacerbates the earworm.
Yeah, it did.
But
I'm sure you said listen to it in a previous
no, definitely
podcast.
not. Go through
Well,
the
I'm
whole
going to go
song in
back.
your head.
I am going to go through back every podcast and find a clip of you saying listen to it, and then
I can't think of a more effective use of your time.
I know.
What about the echolalia, guys? Because obviously this is something that is common in the
I went to
autistic
see them at
community.
Glasgow.
Yeah,
Good one.
that's worse for me on meds because my autism is more pronounced for me on meds. So yeah, that has been worse for me on meds, but I don't mind it so much actually. But the
I think
earworms are really intrusive, and I hate those.
With echolalia, we're talking about repeating what people say or what we think they say, or we over and over, like intrusively.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's like a stim to me.
Yeah, I can get Sam started by just going beats and beats and beats and beats, and then she'll start saying it afterwards as well. Which sounds like I know, but she likes it. It's a stim, and she does a big smile on her face when I do it.
You could you could lay down some. I believe I'm saying it correctly. 6 beats.
Yes, you can. Right then, let's start off because I've got to do body double in a bit. Thank you for listening. That was episode 183 of the ADHD Adults Podcast, where we talked about ADHD and music. If you're coming to the book launch, we'll see you, I think, tomorrow night. I think that's tomorrow night, isn't it, guys? I don't know. And we think the venues, somewhere in London. We're not entirely sure because we think it's changed. But anyway, thank you for listening. If you're coming to the book launch, we'll see you. If not, you can get in touch via the website. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Books out on Friday or Thursday. Bye all.
Trigger warning, klaxon. 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 Big klaxon. No. Trigger warning, klaxon. Klaxon. Klaxon.
The other day, I was saying to James that, oh my God, I just suddenly realized that I'm an adult and I can wear whatever I want every single day. If I want to dress up in fancy dress, I could do that. I could wear something flamboyant or anything I want. And I was really, really excited when I realized this, and I couldn't wait for the next day to get up. And then I was looking at all of the things that I have, and we've got like 6 boxes of fancy dress outfits, and I've got so many amazing, colorful, extravagant outfits. And I was thinking for a long time about what I wanted to wear and trying things on. And then I realized that I just want to be comfortable. So I couldn't wear any of those things because they weren't comfortable. So I just put the same old tracksuit on. I was really disappointed because I want to wear flamboyant things, but I can't because they're not as comfortable to me.
Tell your jumper.